Looking back, I can't believe it's already been 10 years since Ascendancy came out. I remember Jason and I had initially met when we were planning on doing what became known as the Blue Demo, something that's kind of unavailable to find these days. When I first met Jason, I'd never worked with a producer before of his caliber. We'd worked with some local guys here and there who did a good job recording and did a good job hitting record and play and all that stuff, but I'd never worked with a guy that basically when I sat down, I remember the first time I met Jason, I had my guitar tone all set up, I had my guitar going through the amps, and my dad was there as well. He was managing the band at the time, and I hit my guitar tone, and Jason looked at me, he's like, dude, your guitar tone sucks. And both my dad and I just kind of were frozen there because we'd never had anybody be such an honest, constructive critic of the band before. And that method was kind of an eye-opener into what later on would become the relationship between band guys and producers. I feel the most constructive producers are the most beneficial to the band. I feel bands always need an outside ear for what they're doing, and it's of the utmost importance for a band to release some of their greatest stuff, whether having a producer or someone who can really help craft the song. Each of us in the band nowadays in our current lineup are able to be that outside ear, and we also have the benefit of working with producers. But I digress. So with Ascendancy, we had just finished Ember to Inferno. There was a sampler off a magazine, I can't recall which magazine, but If I Could Collapse the Masses was on that sampler. Monty Connor from Roadrunner Records at the time received that sampler, called us up, and said, hey, I think you guys are pretty good. You're not quite there yet, but I'd be really curious to see where you go from here. And he was referring to the song If I Could Collapse the Masses, and I believe Pillars of Serpents as well. So we were very excited and very encouraged to take that to the next level. And what we decided to do is write a couple songs. The songs that we did for the demo that we submitted to Roadrunner were The Deceived, Blinding Tears Will Break the Skies, and Like Light to the Flies. We decided to shoot a video ourselves. My dad financed the video and paid Dale Restaghini to do the video for Like Light to the Flies. We sent that video in the 3-song demo, and basically Monty called us up and said, this is what I was looking for. We want to sign you guys to Roadrunner. So we started writing the material, did a couple of tours. We did a tour supporting God Forbid, a tour supporting Iced Earth, and then one supporting Machine Head and Chimera. And when we were doing those tours, we were playing some of the material off Ember and also writing stuff for what would become Ascendancy. When we got in the studio for Ascendancy, we'd never imagined we'd be signed to a label as big as Roadrunner. We'd already been huge fans of all the bands that were on the label, and what we decided to do was just go in there and write the best kind of music that we can, write the songs that we wanted to hear as music fans, not thinking anything of what do people want to hear. We just wanted to make the kind of stuff that we wanted to hear. We finished all of the guitar tracks, and originally this record was tuned to drop D flat, what we're currently in now, and in Waves and Vengeance Falls. We recorded the entire record in drop D flat, and we took a day off, and I came back in, and Jason had his hands over his head, and he was sitting at the computer, and he's like, dude, all these guitar tracks are out of tune. We listened back, everything was slightly out, so we deleted everything, and we said, you know what, screw this tuning. So we tuned back up, and I remember for some reason we were using some guy's random guitar that he built in his house. It wasn't a brand. I don't remember the guy's name. I don't remember where he is. I wish we could find this guitar and buy it off of him. But we recorded off this like handmade guitar this guy made, and it sounded amazing. And when we decided to retrack the record in tuned up back to drop D, everything seemed to fit in correctly. So here it is, my play-by-play as I remember of what happened with Ascendancy and what the songs are about. When we did the intro to Ascendancy, the song called The End of Everything, it was the final song we decided to track. With this song, we wanted to really set a mood of an apocalyptic movie beginning, an apocalyptic video game beginning. Those are things I was really into my whole life. I'm still into those things, and I wanted to really set the mood for what would become this record. And I wanted people to get in the headspace of what this record was about. And wrote The End of Everything. It was pretty straightforward. I came up with the guitar part on the acoustic, and Jason came up with the piano part, and it fit perfectly well. It felt like the intro to a movie or a movie trailer. We still think, even to this day, that Rain is one of the absolute most intense Trivium songs. It's something about the pacing, something about the vocal delivery, something about the lyrics. With Rain, it tackles a bit what people will see that this record is centralized around, and that's the inner workings of the human mind, of my own. I think it's very important that people tackle depression and anxiety and issues they see in themselves, or issues they're not even entirely sure what's going on with themselves, in a positive manner. A positive manner meaning something creative, something like music. So with Rain, it was about myself and about how I feel. And reading through these lyrics, these are things that it's hard to see how much I was feeling these as I was younger. And I still feel some of these things to this day, but luckily I found more outlets in my life. But Rain is a dark, angry song, and I believe the reason why people can identify with it is they maybe feel what I'm saying in the song, and they feel that aggression and that anger coming out in the verses, and that desperate tone in what's going on in the chorus. And it's a good mission statement for what the record is about. Pull Harder on the Strings of Your Martyr. Pull Harder has become one of the biggest songs of the Trivium catalog. It's one that's about a dictatorship. It could be something that could be anything as localized as a hard coach or a parent or a country leader or someone who was a historical dictatorship over a country. For me, it was kind of all-inclusive. I was thinking something that could be multi-interpreted as something as small as something in your neighborhood or in your backyard, or something as large as war-scale-scaped dictatorship. With Pull Harder, it goes in and out of describing this evil leader and describing what they feel in their head and then what I would like to do to them. There's a lot of that on this record, a lot of the issue presented, and then first-person perspective of how I would like to take care of that issue. Drawn and Torn Asunder is lyrically and thematically semi-similar to what's going on in Pull Harder. It's about feeling brought down by the masses. It's about trying to break free from that and become your own thing. And it's a topic that you'll see prevalent throughout this record, adversity, and adversity weighing one down and then using the music and using the lyrics to get through that, to break through that. Ascendancy seems to be more so the result of if you were able to go through the process of the first three songs, with Rain addressing what's feeling as the inner turmoil. Pull Harder is also another issue of having something over you, so having a specific singular negative force in your life. Drawn and Torn Asunder is looking at kind of a mass thing dragging you down. And with Ascendancy, the overall message is to rise above all of that, to cleave yourself from all of that, and to allow yourself to become what it is to become. And that's why when we wrote this song, it does have more of a positive connotation than the other songs, and that's why it felt to be the appropriate title for the record. And with each title of every record we've done, we've always wanted that title to really surmise what the record is saying. And what this record is saying, even though it's a dark record with themes like what's about to happen in the next song, with themes like that, but in the end result, it's always about overcoming adversity, breaking away from that, and allowing yourself to do something great. And for us, the something that's great was to create this music, to create this record that still 10 years from now I can talk about and people want to hear about. And I'm beyond excited that even through the negative aspects of our band, with what's happened to us or with what's in our lyrics or what's presented in our music or our visuals, it's always about the end result of getting through that and becoming someone better, becoming something greater than that. A Gunshot to the Head of Trepidation was a very difficult song to write. Having come from a great family, I wanted to put myself in the headspace of someone who didn't come from a great family. That's something that a lot of people have to deal with. It's a terrible thing that anyone would ever have to deal with this, that would have to go through child abuse or have to witness domestic violence or have to grow up in a household that they were afraid to be there, whether because of a parent or a person living there or a sibling or whatever it may be. And I wanted this song to be the punching bag for the underdog. I wanted the person who had to go through what I'm talking about in the song, that had to go through the storytelling that is this song, to be able to have the shoulder to cry on. As I've mentioned before, I never want people to go to the negative aspect of where you can go when you're down. And the issue with domestic violence and child abuse is that it's such a cycle. A person is raised in that, and later, if they're not able to recognize what was wrong about that situation, that it wasn't their fault, but it was the other person's fault, or the parent's fault, or the sibling's fault, or whoever it may have been abusing them mentally or physically. If they're not able to realize that, then it repeats. they repeat it to their children or to the people around them. And I want people to feel this and to look at this song and say the outcome of the story of this song was that someone was able to create something out of it. And it's meant so much to me that I've met so many fans over our career who got that message, who understood that message, that a gunshot to the head of trepidation means putting that terror away, putting that away from you by allowing yourself to grow from it and learn from it and not harm yourself or anyone around you negatively from it, but to create something great from that. And I still hope to this day that people can find shelter in this song and to realize that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and life does get better. Like Light to the Flies was the song that started it all for us. This isn't the demo version, this is the Ascendancy version. There's actually 2 versions. The other one's on the bonus edition of Ember to Inferno, and that's what got us signed to Roadrunner. So we decided to re-record the song just because we had a decent studio budget. We wanted to see what we could do with the song now. We didn't change it too much, just allowed the tones to be a little bit better. Some people like one version better, some people like the other version better, and that's what I love about our band. We have fans that love the second record, or just the 5th record, or think the 3rd is better than this, or the 1st is better than the rest. I love that. I find no problem with people finding a favorite in our record. I'd rather them have 1 or 2 favorites and not like the others than not having any favorites at all. And I feel that extreme emotion, whether love or hate towards art and towards music, is an important thing because it's showing that it's creating a reaction that's worth a damn. Like Light to the Flies, it jumps around a couple of things that were influenced. I remember learning about the story of Oedipus in English class, and maybe 10th or 9th or 11th grade. And when Oedipus found out what he had done with his mother, he decided to blind himself. And that's where I kind of got the idea for devoutly wished for blinded eyes, of having seen or having done something in life that you wished you could unsee what you saw. And for me, it seems like looking back at the song now, what I'm talking about in the lyrics is that people are so drawn to tragedy and they're drawn to want to see it, even though they try to deny it. They try to say they're not into it, but it's what drives our news media. And it's an atrocity in itself that the masses are drawn to see something bad. You could look at it as something as simple of a metaphor of a car accident. When all of a sudden traffic slows down, it's because people are all looking. Because I don't know, it's because they want to see something, but they're looking to see something. Maybe they're not admitting to themselves what they want to see, but I feel it kind of speaks the inherent darkness within us. And it's something that we need to address, we have to address, and cleave ourselves from that. Dying in Your Arms, it's a different song for the record. I remember we had an A&R guy at our label who wanted to get this song off the record. They said it didn't fit, it wasn't going to make people happy, we didn't know what we were talking about, and we pushed for it. We felt like it was a great song, and amazingly, it was a song that did incredibly well on the radio in the UK, and it's become one of our biggest songs in our set that we still play right alongside of our heaviest tunes. Dying in Your Arms is about being in a relationship. For me, it was a relationship that I was in my younger days, and it was something when you're quote in love as a kid, you feel like that's everything. You feel like that is your life and that's all you think about, and it pulls you away from everything else that is you. And in this case, pulling me away from wanting to be creative. And it's about recognizing that infatuation with something wrong, with something that isn't the right thing for you. And it's about getting rid of that. It's about, once again, rising above something. It's the ascendancy of yourself to get away from something toxic in you. And it doesn't just have to be a relationship in the way that I referenced earlier, but it could be something like a friendship or a kinship or something that like a business partnership, whatever it can be. That's what I always want people to take from this, that they can relate these songs into any topics of life that they may come across. The Deceived is another song that was influenced through English class in high school. Getting the term deconstructing their hold I got in Mr. Gartel's class, and the word trepidation, and the idea of using the reference to Oedipus. The same thing with The Deceived. We just finished reading Brave New World, and this song is basically about that. It's about fighting the idea of a utopian society. Whether that's a religious utopian society, a political utopian society, it's to show that it's not possible. It's to show that it is flawed, and any time that that's something that's strived for, it's typically either with bad intentions or something that's just built to fall. Suffocating Sight goes back into what the earlier section of this record was about. It tackles even more specifically things that I felt. When we first started touring and when I first started being around in this band, I remember even being in school too. I had it wasn't diagnosed social anxiety disorder, but I remember fans were definitely saying, man, that guy's not friendly, speaking about me. And at the time, I used to be terrified to go out and see anyone that I would know, even in school. And so when our band first started doing decently and we had the opportunity to meet fans, it kind of scared me. And at the time, I was going through having acne and feeling like I didn't know how I wanted to look or present myself or speak to people. And it was crippling, and it really affected me negatively. And this song was about what was going on with me before we started touring. And it's something that I thankfully have been able to get over and get through. Maybe it's from writing music, maybe it's from being thrown into the deep end and having to be constantly around people and new people. And now I love it. I absolutely love to be able to meet people that support the band or meet people through new interests, whether it be food or martial arts or something. I think it's very important that people learn how to integrate with, I'm not saying integrate with the herd, but integrate with people who share common interests, whether that be metal or food or art or movies or whatever that is. And Suffocating Sight, it's a difficult one to read through because that's something that I've really struggled with my entire life. Departure is probably the heaviest song. It's treading in territory that is very difficult to speak of for, I know, a lot of people. It's a song that's talking about suicide. It's a song that's basically a suicide note that I was not thinking of going through with, but thinking of in my darkest times. And a lot of people think very extremely, whether we want to try to deny it or address it. Departure was about that. And Departure, the same intent that I had with A Gunshot to the Head of Trepidation, I have with Departure. I want people to be able to look at this song and see that they're not the only ones that felt this way, they're not the only ones that feel this way, and that the song can be their solace. The song is their self relating to what I went through. So they went through the same thing as me, and I came out a great, happy person. And I really hope that this song can bring some light into people's days if they're having these kinds of difficulties in their life. Departures. It's a hard song to look through. It's a hard song to think about. The light at the end of the tunnel is that things do get better if you allow yourself to put the negativity into something positive. Declaration is a song about accepting all walks of life, not just tolerating all walks of life. But for me, I've always felt that no matter what a person is into, no matter who a person is, whether their race, their ethnicity, their gender, their sexuality, it's something that they are free to do, free to live as, and free to be, as long as a person's choices aren't affecting someone else's negatively. And one can easily read through the lyrics and see exactly what this song is about. We've never considered ourselves a political band, but I've always been all about acceptance of everything. And for me, if that can't be accepted in a person, I feel like they need to really look at themselves and see that if they're able to live one way, why can't everyone else? This has been Matt Heafy speaking about Ascendancy, 10 years in. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you.